Don't forget, press the like button, press the subscription button, and the blue bell, and you'll be reminded of future conversations here on the Grand Torino. Let's get down to brass tacks. Two stories to cover today. Two stories that I want to highlight to you today that has me incensed this morning. This from the Sun this morning. Man accused of rape left Gardaí at a loss as to how he got into Ireland as he is denied bail. A man with no ties to Ireland accused of raping a woman here has been denied bail after court heard Gardaí were at a loss to know how he got into the country. The 46-year-old from a non-EU nation was charged with the rape of a woman on a date in June 2017 at a house in County Kildare town. He replied it was not 2017 after he was charged. Detective Garda Gerard Moore told Dublin District Court the accused had no ties to the jurisdiction and had been refused to leave to enter Ireland in 2004. He objected to bail, citing flight risk. He said the accused had lived in Ireland a considerable period of time, but no status here. He had never engaged with immigration services, Detective Garda Moore said. His passport did not have any stamps for entering Ireland or the UK, he said. Detective Garda Moore said, I am at a loss as to how he came into Ireland. Maybe one of the guards rubber stamping passports, one of the biggest corruption stories in Ireland, blanket coverage. Nothing, no follow-up, no nothing. One of the biggest media stories here today. One of the biggest media stories here. And nothing from the press, just a complete obfuscation. Garda Casey BL said his client was presumed innocent, but would spend a lengthy period of time in custody if bail was refused. Boo-hoo. He said his client, who has an address in Dublin, had worked in Ireland for 3 years and was willing to sign on at his local Garda station. That's nice of him, isn't it? The accused, who stood with his hands joined, did not address the court. Pleading for bail, his barrister said the accused had no history of bench warrants and his passport was in the possession of the state. He's no business being here. There's no record of him of any previous convictions because the Gardaí didn't even know how he got into the country. He had not tried to evade justice, counsel submitted. Detective Garda Moore again said that the accused had no ties in Ireland and it was not known how he got here. And I'll contrast that. Rape statistics up 60% in this country. Not a titch from the Me Too movement, from all those lovely feminists out there. Last year, a woman raped in Kildare, County Clare, by 3 foreign national men, as was reported in the press. No follow-up, no convictions, because they don't know where they are. But yet, this from Stephen Collins. The unsung virtues of Charlie Flanagan. Minister for Justice does a very difficult job well and avoids attracting unnecessary attention, keeping his head down under the pillow, I'd say, and hiding. Basic competence and the ability to stay out of trouble are among the unsung virtues of politics. They have become even more important in this age of attention-seeking politicians who can't resist television or radio appearances making fools of themselves on Twitter in the belief that publicity is an end to itself. Minister for Justice Charlie Flanagan is a case in point of a politician who does a difficult job well and avoids attracting unnecessary attention by foolish publicity stunts or rushing into comment about issues which have nothing to do with his brief. Let's bring in hate speech laws because racism is rampant in Ireland. 10 cases. 10 cases. Nothing on the knife crimes. Over 900. He took over a department where his 2 predecessors were hounded from office in a whirlwind of negative publicity, most of it unfair but damaging nonetheless. He has managed to bring a level of calmness and stability to the position and get on with a massive, important workload. An instructive lesson on the reality of government was brought home to this columnist many years ago during the lifetime of the first Fianna Fáil Progressive Democrat coalition. Sitting in the Dáil canteen where journalists, politicians, officials and ushers mingle freely, I ended up at a table with Mary Harney and Bobby Malloy. Harney, then a junior minister, remarked that the political scene at the time was very boring and our party's TD needed to do something to liven it up and generate some publicity for themselves. At that, Malloy, who had a long experience of government as a Fianna Fáil minister and was then in cabinet as one of the 2 PD ministers, exploded. Mary, you don't understand the first thing about being in government. Excitement is all very fine when you're in opposition, but when you're in office, you want it to be boring. That is it when you get the real work done. Very boring now, isn't it? Flanagan could not avoid being dragged into the tail end of controversy As a wily politician who had himself been at the centre of many a political storm, Malloy understood that the media naturally thrives on fanning the flames of every minor controversy in the hope that it will become a big news story. But here's a big news story. Nobody's fanning the flames. Rate up 60% and ongoing, spiralling upwards. But Charlie's doing a great job. Well done, you, the press. The Department of Justice, when Flanagan took over in June 2017, was a case in point. He was plunged into the tail end of the Morris-McCabe saga, which had cost the heads of two ministers, the Secretary General of the department and the confidential recipient. Along the way, it generated a succession of tribunals, official reports and court cases. Big gravy train for our solicitors and for the judicial system. All that was a thorny brief to be handled, and Flanagan could not avoid being dragged into the tail end of a controversy, with the media pack in full cry in search of another victim on a story which had kept giving. He had to weather a few rocky moments in his early months. He managed to survive it by being cautious, public self, carefully explaining the intricacies of each development as far as possible, avoiding media comment on provocative claims and counterclaims. Ultimately, the issue was moved into the world of tribunals and court hearings and gradually faded into as a political controversy. As all these stories do, they just fade away. No follow-up. Like I said, that poor girl in Clane, raped by 3 foreign nationals, as was reported in the Sun. No follow-up, and they're gone. Gone. Porous borders. Yippee, open borders. Of course, the McCabe controversy was just one of the myriad of issues, many of them potential pitfalls, which had to be dealt with by a Minister for Justice on a daily basis. For instance, in recent weeks, the decision to change the way people caught in possession of drugs are treated by the state could have been a political landmine. The fundamental change, which will involve people apprehended for the first 2 drug offences, which being treated by the health system rather than the courts, could well have prompted a backlash from traditional Fine Gael supporters who value the implementation of law and order. Handled badly, it could have also been undermined by opposition from the Gardaí. In fact, criticism of the move came from the left, with a variety of politicians unhappy that it did not go nearly far enough and decriminalise drugs entirely. That criticism actually served to generate support for Flanagan's approach, to which is an appalling social problem and has been going on since the 80s and has decimated the north side of Dublin and throughout Ireland. Important and long-delayed legislation, such as the Judicial Council Bill, has been passed under his watch. Hey, Charlie. His matter-of-fact approach was also instrumental in getting big majorities for the 2 constitutional amendments he managed to pilot through with little or no controversy in the referendums, which took place on the same day as the European and local elections in May. Under the counter, like the abortion legislation. No anaesthetic for the fetus. That was a great move. Stunning, brave. Support for the abolition of blasphemy and the significant easing of the divorce provisions never looked like engendering huge controversy, but considering the way a number of proposals for constitutional change have been rejected by the electorate in the past, there was always a danger that some spark could have set up the issues alight and prompted a no vote. Well, with Google doing its utmost best and now proven to be in redacted key search words in their algorithms, which included a lookup for the 8th Amendment of the Constitution of Ireland, among many other key phrases which they obfuscated and obscured. No investigation into Google's intervention into our political system. Let's just keep them going because they're big employers of this country. Again, it was Flanagan's low-key approach to the 2 issues that convinced the overwhelming majority of the people to support the change. Let me just move this up here to finish. It is probably no accident that after more than 30 years in national politics, Flanagan has been able to handle the pressures of office far better than publicity-hungry younger cabinet colleagues who have been embroiled in one controversy after another. But the rapes just keep rolling on, and the press is nowhere to be seen. Us, don't forget, press the like, press the subscription button, and you'll be reminded of future broadcasts here on the Grand Torino. Wake up, Ireland. Wake up. Open borders is a nonsense.